Welcome to PESC. Thank you for having me here tonight. We're going to talk about depression. So I would like to start tonight, talking about, just a quick overview of depression. So we have an idea about what we are going to be discussing tonight. Firstly, it's very important to make clear that depression is actually a pathology. Everybody thinks that they know a little bit about depression, but it is actually considered a pathology because it is something that needs to be treated. It is an illness, and it's not something that happens straight away. It is something that is built over time. Depression, it is considered depression when you have 8 weeks or more on a low mental state of unhappiness. We are not talking specifically here about sadness. We are talking about unhappiness in a low mood, a low mental state. As I said before, it is an illness of the soul. So when I say illness of the soul, that means that it is not only about your body, how you feel, but it is as well about your soul. It is about your mind, your conscious. And when we go to that level, it is important to understand that the soul being immortal, depression is an illness that usually, for the majority of cases, they come on board with us to this life because they've been there before and they are there and we have to deal with it. It is our spirit who needs healing, not our body, and not this situation specifically that it's been overcome by depression, but it is actually something that is so deep into the soul of the person that is come with it to this life. Depression is built over time. So it is a consequence of a state of mind. It is not something that happened that we become depressed. Nobody become depressed because you sat beside someone that was depressed on the bus stop, on the gas station. It's not contagious. It is something that is built over time. As I said, it needs 8 weeks or more. So of sitting in that low mental state, brewing, for you to get to a point that you are depressed. So it is a condition, a continuous mental state. It is not a one-time thing that happens. No one chooses to be depressed. It's different from you're crying and then you ask someone, can you stop crying? You can't stop crying because crying is a consequence of your mental state. So you can't ask someone, oh, just don't be sad. Just don't be depressed. Everything will be fine. If you look what we've been through already, it will tell you that it's not something that the person chooses to be. So it's not can be chosen not to be. It is important to understand that when you're dealing with people with depression. There are, apart from depression, there are two similar conditions, which is dystemic condition and bipolar disorder. So dystemic disorder and bipolar disorder. So dystemic is something that, so for example, depression is you're feeling okay, and then you feel depression, you go really low on mood and you stay there for some time, then you recover. Dystemic is you are okay, and then you drop a little bit, and you maintain that state. It's the melancholy. It is a state that it's not as low as depression, but it is something that drops your mood and drops your mental state, this unhappiness, just a little bit, but it drags on for time and time and time and time again. Bipolar disorder is a type of depression, but it is a type of depression where the person actually makes It goes down to the depression, and then it spikes up to euphoria, that it's called. So one day this person is low in depression, and it says, no, I can't do this anymore. Puts makeup on, put some nice clothes on, go out, party like crazy, drink, and everything is happy, and go and shops, and goes through this euphoria phase to fall down straight into depression again. So it picks up and down. So we always think bipolar disorder is something that double personality, and that's what it's talking about, but it is a type of depression, and it has to be dealt as depression, but in a different scale. Okay. So we were speaking before about depression being the no one chooses to be depressed. So it is something that the free will, we have to understand that when a person is depressed, the free will cannot change that state. So you can't ask the person. The free will of the person who's depressed only can work to one way of working out what led to that depression first time, and then to work and pick the pieces up. That's the only thing the free will can do there. You can't change depression, because to change depression, you have to start at the bottom and go through a chain of events to achieve the consequence, which is the depression. So the free will of the person is the only thing that will get started on working on the process that led to depression. So you can't ask someone to stop being depressed, put a smile on your face, because it's not as simple as that. Putting a smile on your face won't make you not be depressed. Will only put a mask on your face, because it doesn't reflect. Your smile reflects your state of the soul. If you're not feeling well, you can put as much a smile on your face as you want. You won't be happy because of that. It's the other way around. Now, as any illnesses, we have signs and symptoms, right? So we're going to go through that as well. So to start with, we are going to talk about the signs of depression. So the difference between signs and symptoms is that signs is what we can see on a disease, on an illness, and symptoms is what you can't see. It's what can be felt. So it is hard to pick up, but it is important that there are always two sides of the depression. There are the things that you see, that is the tip of the iceberg, and there are the things that you don't see, that are below the surface, that only the person who is depressed feel. Okay, so we're going to start with the signs. So some of the signs of depression are low mood, anger, sadness, or not. So the person can show all that or not. The person can cry a lot or cannot cry at all. The person might be so desperate that is past the point of crying. That crying, the person is so defeated that it doesn't have energy for crying anymore. There's no point in crying. It's already defeated. Okay, so you can't judge anyone by that, but it is a sign if you can see that happening, the low mood, the anger, the sadness. We have then isolation, and we have the loss of interest in activities and people. So isolation is when the person doesn't want to go out anymore, doesn't want to go to work, doesn't want to go anywhere with other people are, doesn't even want to be with their relatives. He can't stand anyone being around them. He can't even stand themselves. If they could, they would isolate from themselves because they just want to be alone. There is a loss of interest in activities, on the life motivating activities. So if you think things that you do that makes you happy, that makes you feel joy, that makes you feel alive, this person loses the interest in this sort of activity as well. So you might see a person who used to go and play soccer or go and do whatever activity it is, stops doing that because that doesn't bring joy anymore. And the person just has this feeling of isolation, and that leads to that too. And loses interest in people, especially the closest people to them. The favorite people and the people who even the closest friends, it just doesn't want that contact anymore. It doesn't feel like it. And again, it's not, remember, it's not a choice. This is a consequence of something else. So it's not, why didn't you call me anymore? Why haven't you been here? Why haven't you been playing soccer? It is a consequence. It's not, if you be in touch with this person, if you put this person back into playing soccer, it's not going to revert the process because it is a consequence. There is unhappiness, and usually sleep and appetite disruption. Sleep can be no sleep at all. It can be a lot of sleep. It can be no appetite. It can be a lot of appetite. So just a disruption in that line. So if we have a look at these, and especially when your body and your mind is pushing you into isolation, loss of interest in activities and the people around you, I want you to think, what do you think that is inviting you? When your body and your mind, not in a free will, asks you to step away from people, step away from activities and to social, to a point that you have to stay with yourself in a place. What is your life inviting you to? It is inviting you to that isolation. It is inviting you to stop activities, to stop with other people. It is actually your life, the self part of your psychic, your divine light inside, telling you, stop what you're doing and reflect on yourself. So it's trying to isolate you from all other entertainments that you have, all other things that you are prone to be distracted. So you can focus on yourself. It is yourself screaming that there's something that is not right. So stop looking outside, look inside, to a point that is so important that your body and your mind have to force you to do that. It is an invite for a change. It's not only to look, but is an invite to look, find, reflect, and change. It is deep within the soul. And all this is scary when you start looking inside. It's scary sometimes what we find there. So this is why this is hard. This is why depression, it takes a long time to fix, because it is a long process. If it's a long process of knowing yourself, as we study in Spiritism, we are going to go through some of the symptoms, and this is what we don't see. This is what the person feels. So before I go on, I just want to say that I'm not here trying to bring to you tools for you to get out there on the street diagnosing people. You have depression, you look like you're going to be depressed. This is firstly a tool for me, Adelita, as a lecturer. This is why this lecture is brought for me. This is something that I have to reflect on, first thing. Second thing, it's for each one of you that are here watching and listening to this presentation to reflect on yourself. Because statistics says that 60% of people will go through some signs of depression in their lives. So I'm giving you a tool for you to identify yourself. Pick up, okay, this is happening to me. How can I do so I don't go all the way down? How can I pick it up? So this is something for us to be alert. These are signs and symptoms that we can find in ourselves and stop the process before it becomes too hard and too deep. Okay. And as well, if you know someone who is depressed, I'll give you tools to help this person as well. But this is not for you to go out there diagnosing people and putting the treatment up in their faces. Okay. So symptoms. Frustration of unaccomplished goals and wishes in life. Failure. Inability of feeling pleasure, inability of feeling any pleasure. So that's why this person doesn't do the social activities anymore. This is why the person doesn't have relationship with people anymore, even with the loved ones. This doesn't bring pleasure anymore. This includes sex, this includes libido, even the most intimate relationships that we have with people, they do not bring us joy or pleasure anymore. And remember, this is a consequence of a chain of feelings and emotions and processes inside this person, okay? This is not something that can be changed straight away like this. It is something that it's felt, and the person doesn't know why or what this is happening, and it can't be changed straight away. It is a sort of self-punishment, and we are going to go through that a bit later. It is a feeling that I'm not good enough, and you need a self-punishment. You find indifference in relationships. The relationships, no matter how important they are to you, close family or close friends, or relationships, any kind of relationships, they just become meaningless. You have a lot of thought about death, about dying and suicide. So you think, if you go through those dots that we've passed, after all that, you know, you start thinking that it's better if you die, that it's better if you were not there at all. And that leads to suicide. Statistically speaking, 15 to 20% of people who are depressed commit suicide. That's big. And 35 to 40% of people who commit suicide are depressed. An even bigger number is from people who commit suicide, who go through any mental condition like depression. So if we can make a little difference in ourselves to start with, so we don't get down that path, it is a life that we save, our own sometimes, if we can pick up those signs and symptoms before they become too strong. There are obsessive compulsive thoughts about situations. So especially if you have one particular situation that promoted the depression, like one episode that either you are the person, either you consider yourself the victim or the perpetrator of that situation in specific. And what happens is this person keeps thinking about the situation over and over and over and over again, replaying that situation and the scene and what was said, what was thought, and what I should have said, what I should have done. And that's done over and over and over again. Again, it is not a person who wants to, but this just happens naturally when the person is in depression. And this, again, it puts the person, instead of having a free mind, it is going through that process over and over again. And there's no difference for the psychological piece, that the situation is actually happening over and over again. So the person goes even lower. You feel when you have depression, a heavy heart. And that's a symptom that most people say, and it is something similar when you go through a very stressful situation or a fight with someone. You feel that heaviness in your heart, but the person with depression feels that all the time, constant. It is like you have no love to give, and you feel like that because you don't want to be around people. You feel like you have nothing to give, no love, no attention, no joy to the other person. And that leads to lack of care to others. And again, this is not a decision that the person makes. This is a consequence of their mental state. If we look at the energy field, at the energy body that we have, okay, it can be seen as the cardiac chakra, which is the chakra we have right in the middle of our chest. This is the one responsible for sharing love with the others and to emanating love and receiving love. This chakra blocks, it shuts down. So again, it is physical to the energy body, to the energy body we have, to a point that physically it clogs. even if the person wants, it's beyond that. You can't give love and you can't receive love, because this is something that's been built over time. Your mind is so strong behind this feeling that you end up damaging in a temporary way. Your cardiac chakra shuts down and it gives you that feeling of a heavy heart. A guilt, not good enough. It's a feeling of defeat, dissatisfaction with life, regret. This is all very heavy. This is all very strong, those feelings, okay? All this leads to loss of faith in people, loss of faith in yourself, and loss of faith in God. Because which sort of God is that let me go through all this? It is a very evil God. So you lose faith. So this person doesn't even have the strength to lift a prayer to God. It doesn't even feel like it deserves God's attention because it is so low in those dissatisfaction and defeat. It doesn't have energy for that. There's no motivation to keep going, to do anything. There's no motivation to live. There's nothing to live for. And then again, the thoughts about death, dying, and suicide. Okay, so this is all, as you can see here, one thing leads to another, and the person goes spiraling down, down, down to a very low point. Okay. Now, this is all very depressing, talking about this, but it is important for us to understand. Now, if you look at this, signs and symptoms that we've been through, if you think about yourself, have you ever gone through this? I'm sure everybody felt frustrated over unaccomplished goals, or sometimes you don't want to go to socialize with other people, and you have compulsive thoughts about situations, and you feel heavy, and you feel guilt, and you feel not good enough. This doesn't mean that you are depressed, but when you harbor those feelings for weeks, days, weeks, months, it becomes a problem because you can't bounce back up. You just stay low, and this starts to be damaging to your psychological, and it's harder and harder for you to get back up. Again, this is a warning for all of us. It is okay to feel all that, but it is not okay to be dwelling on that for too long. And that's the important message here, for us to vigil our own thoughts and our own feelings, so it doesn't allow to get that low. So what causes depression? Okay, it is a combination of feelings. The human psychology is quite not sure. The spiritual side of the psychology tries to guide a little bit. So let's see what it brings to. So the cause of depression, this is based on Joanna de Angelis. She is one of the high spirits that helps in the earth, of us incarnated spirits here in earth. And she spent more than 50 years studying human psychology in the spiritual world to bring this type of knowledge for us. Okay, so she says it is a suppressing of feelings and avoiding dealing with life conflicts and situations. So if we have everything that was said before in mind, you know, all those feelings, the anger, the sadness, the guilt, you know, when we have a conflict in our life, this leads to those types of emotions. And we have two options there. We have an option to ask ourselves, how dare this person do this to me? How dare God put me into this situation? Why did this person do this to me? How could they have done this to me? How could I have done such thing to someone? And you dwell on those thoughts, right? And you keep dwelling, and this thing keeps going, and that is that obsessive thinking that we were talking about. So from there, we have two ways. One way is you keep on dwelling on that. How that this person did this to me, this is ridiculous, and then you are angry, and then you sad, and then you replay that situation. And this brings eventually you down to depression, or that eventually brings you down to, okay, I'm fine. But that anger is there, and this accumulates over time, and it's like a dam on a river. You put a dam there, but the river, the anger in the situation will get to a point that it overflows. Okay, and it will get to a point that you have to deal with it. This is what happens with depression. It gets to a point that, okay, stop everything. You got to deal with that right now. So you have that option of dwelling on that, you know, but he did this, but you did this to me, but you did, how could you have done this? This happened. Or you go through the natural way, which is called the natural course of the feeling. Something really bad happens to you. I'm not going to get into examples, but something really bad happens to you, or you do something really bad. You get angry, you feel guilty, you go through really hard time for a week, you cry, you're angry, you fight with people, and then suddenly you're like, okay, what's happening here? Why is this happening to me? Should I have really acted that way? Maybe that person was trying to say that, or maybe I should have done that. And then you learn, and then you understand, and then you improve, and then you grow, and then you get to understand your limitations as a soul, and then you get to understand why you act the way you acted, and you grow, and then you go down, and then you go back to normal. This is the natural way. So yes, you are allowed to be sad, you are allowed to be angry, you are allowed to cry, to grieve, but in a natural way, this is what is being presented as a gift to you, to your life, for you to dwell on and to get something out of it, learn something out of it, and then you get out of there. So this feeling is serve a purpose of teaching, of bringing something to your attention. If you don't pay attention, this thing's going to be stuck in your head, stuck in your heart. So we deal, we learn, we grow, and then you move on with your life in a clean slab. And when you remember that situation, it hurts a little bit, but then you moved on because you understand why the situation was brought to you. We go through situations in life that sometimes we did not provoke this situation directly. There are things that are put into our lives, situations that we have to deal with, that we could have not had avoided at all. It's just there. So even though it's not our fault, and we could be dwelling on that because we didn't cause that, but this situation is put in our lives for us to deal with it. So that's our part. Our responsibility is to deal with that. It is brought to bring something to our attention. It is our responsibility, even though we didn't cause it, responsibility to deal with it. Once you understand and really process that into your soul, and see how deep that is into your soul, then you bounce and you go back to normal. If you can't go through this process, you depress because you keep dwelling on that. Couldn't have happened. I should have done this. I should have done that. I'm stupid. I'm a failure. I should have done this. Life is better if it didn't happen. How could God have done this to me? Can you understand? Joanna de Angelis brings us a very interesting thought. The feelings can only be resolved as they are released. When they leave the psychological area and liberate the emotional charges that have been accumulated over time. And that's the natural process that I was speaking about. So yes, it will happen. This emotion will come up, but we have to deal with it and resolve it, not simply put aside. Another cause is a lack of compassion and healthy sharing moments with people. And here, I would like to bring up just something that, what do we do? What do we do with other people? If someone come and show you, look a picture of my daughter here on my phone, what is your first reaction? What do you do? Majority of people will pull up their own phones and say, look at my daughter, look at my son, look at my dog, or look at my friend's daughter if I don't have a daughter or a son. And we are so interested in this monologue talking about our own lives that we forget that about this other person there asking for attention, you know. Oh, that's a nice photo. How old is your daughter? How old is your son? What does he do? Does he live it with you? Oh no, he passed away. Have you ever thought he could have passed away? No. So it is our lack of trying to get to know the person. It's our lack of interest. We just want to share what happened to us, and we don't want to listen what the other person has to say. So we end up talking and talking and talking to this person for hours. But what did you get? Or you just get to talk about yourself. So maybe if this person had a chance to release the feelings and tell you how sad it is. Look, this is a photo of my daughter. I haven't seen her in years. Really, what happened? And then this person can open up to you, because sometimes that's what this person is looking for, showing you that photo. So which role have we been playing? There is the fact of spiritual obsession as a cause and consequence of depression. This is because of the vibration. So when we are depressed, as we were saying, it is something that happens over a series of weeks, and it is a very low mood process of the mind. And this invite these spirits with the same vibration, and they just join in the unhappiness. So it's just not the one person being unhappy, it's two. And one feed the other in this frustration, in this guilt. One spirit feeds the other. So there is a obsession going on there. Sometimes it is a cause, but it's not that this obsessor spirit will cause someone to go into depression. It just goes into that first low, and when the person cannot get out, this spirit that is there as an obsessor, it feeds the thought. So it is not that the obsessor causes the depression, but it is that the person accepts that, invites that. So there is always an obsession. It's either a cause or a consequence of depression, and it needs to be treated in synchrony with the mind. And as the spirit is sentient, and as we being aware of the spiritual world having this effect on us, it is important that we learn how to deal with our mediumship. All of us are mediums. All of us can be influenced by spirits in different levels and different intensity. If we don't know how to deal with it, we're going to just take it all in. We're going to take all that the spirit is trying to show us. We're going to just take it all in. Yeah, really, I'm very guilty. And if we can separate what is ours and what is not, once we start helping ourselves, we start helping this other spirit too. And that's the beauty of it. So we have to take that in consideration too. The soul is going through a test. So not only depression, remember how I said that depression is an illness of the soul. Not only the soul is going through a test, having to deal with depression, because it's not only from this life, because if the person could deal with those feelings easily, you wouldn't be depressed to start with. So it is a test to deal with depression, everything that has been accumulating in this soul, in the physical and the material way, to be expelled, as well as dealing with the feelings. So it is dealing with the depression and dealing with those feelings and the situations that are presented in a way. It is a test for the spirit. How can we support that? There is a genetic and physical factors according with the spiritism in there. I'm not going to get into much details. Now, if we have time at the end, I'll bring that as well. But we just have to remember that the spirit commands the body. So if the body comes with physical and genetic predisposition to that, the spirit plays a big role in there and not the other way around. Yes, sir. Sorry, I'll just check if I didn't miss anything here. So when we talk about dealing with all those feelings, I ask you, they're watching this presentation, how are you dealing with yours? Are you allowing yourself to go down in that spiral? Are you actually allowing yourself to feel the grief, to feel the guilt, to feel the sadness, or you're just shoving it in the wardrobe? And if you are dealing with it, if you're allowing yourself to feel it, how are you allowing it to impact in your life, in your daily activities? How are you processing this feeling? So remember, I told you that this presentation it's about you. So let's start now so we don't get down on that spiral. Who have you been blaming for the things that happen in your life? How do you welcome the opportunity of growth for as hard as it gets? How have you been welcoming those experiences that are being presented to you? Is it with revolt, with rebellion, or with love and growth and understanding? So once we do, as Joanna was telling there before, when we resolve those feelings, when we release, and when we go through them and we take the juice out of it, and we are able to move on, our heart becomes light again. And you feel that peace in your heart. You know, when you say sorry, or when you can fix something that you did that you could have done something better. Maybe, you know, I can fix it this way, or maybe now, you know, it feels so good because you're releasing that pressure in your heart. How to help someone with depression? First thing, remember, our first point in this lecture was depression is an illness. It is a pathology. It needs medical attention. This person will not be cured of depression if you have a quick chat with them, if they come to the Spirit Center every week, or take the passes or drink fluid water. It needs a medical attention. It needs a doctor. It needs a psychologist. The mind needs to be dealt with in a psychological way. So you as a friend, if you notice that is happening, it is you should encourage this person to seek medical attention. Medication sometimes help as well, okay? And if you are feeling like that, seek medical attention. Go and do therapy a little bit, okay? Until you figure out what's going on. Be a good listener, as I was saying. Ask questions. Encourage your friend to talk more about it. Let's talk more about it. What do you mean you're not feeling really well? What do you really mean by that? You know, you said you're feeling well, but you don't look very well today. What's going on? Are you really feeling okay? You know, this is showing our love, showing our ability to love. Listen, that's the least we can do. And sometimes this can be the difference. Because as the person starts talking to us, it releases those feelings, and this person might cry and open up to you. And maybe that's all it needs, to listen to himself or herself talk. Show your ability to love. If you have someone depressed, shut in a dark room, in bed, with the curtains drawn close, you do not show your love if you burst into the room, drag this person out of bed, open the curtains and said, look what a beautiful day we have outside. Get up from this bed. Let's go for a walk. This person with depression, it already criticizes himself a lot. If you show the beautiful day outside, or if you do not tolerate being in that room with that person, that shows your lack of love. You are not there to criticize more, to say, you have such a beautiful life, you have a beautiful family, you have a beautiful job, you have everything everybody wants. This person already knows that, and it's already a big burden, because even with all that, this person can't feel any happier. So when you do that to a person that is depressed, you're making it even worse. The best thing you can do, get into that room, lie down in bed and say nothing. The fact that this person knows that you are there and you love this person and you are just there and sitting there with them, being in that dark hole with them, it means the world. It will feel loved. It will feel looked after. It will feel cared for. There's no need to say or do anything. When you encourage this person to get out of the room, dress up, put your makeup on, come and let's go party, you're encouraging this person to bury everything that's taking so long to surface. Put that mask that you are beautiful and happy again, and let's go out and let's hide all this thing. We don't want to hide. We want to bring it up. We're going to deal with it. Okay, so don't be that friend. Be a loving friend. So do not encourage further masking of feelings. Do not criticize, and do not tough love, and do not push. Depression is not something like a car that won't start. It needs a push. Come on, get off this bed. No, it's not a car that needs a little push to keep going. That's not how it works. And sometimes we think we do. That's all it takes. It's not. Just be there. And sometimes the fact of you saying, I love you, I'm here if you need me, that's a glass of water for you. If you need, I'm here. Sometimes that's all this person needs to feel a little bit better. So the ego is always behind that. So the ego is behind all the things that make us feel this heavy, uncomfortable feeling. It's behind the anger, it's behind the sadness, as the Spirited Book says. And it's very clear in depression too, even though it doesn't look like. The ego can't stand the fact of having made a mistake or not having acted the better way. So it doesn't stand that. It just cannot accept that. And it keeps dwelling on that situation, trying to find a better way to do it. Your mistake, we have to remember that mistake was never meant to be a mistake. A mistake was meant to be a good doing. You only see a mistake as you look back. And we are talking about a guilt. It can be from this life, or it can be from others. Sometimes the person doesn't even know why it feels guilty. And sometimes it is back in our unconscious, it is your spirit that is feeling guilty. It is your ego demanding things to go its way, not accepting any other way. It has to be my way. And if it's not my way, I'm not playing this game anymore, the game of life anymore. It does not accept, it cannot control everything. And there are many things in life we can't control. What do we do with that? How can we deal with that? What do we do with God presents to us? We can't control everything. The ego gets stuck in the situation, not wanting to move on or letting it go. And then there is a rebellion, a revolt of the ego that refuses to keep going as it is. It refuses to live when its goals and desires are being denied. Are being denied by this evil God. How dare God not give this to me? How dare this person did this to me? And I would ask you, how dare not? How dare not this person did this to you? We are in just the second level of world. How can we expect people around us to behave like people who are on the last level? We can't expect that. And our ego needs to understand that. We need to rationalize that. So people around us will make mistakes, trying to make their best. And we have to understand that. Our ego denies that. It refuses to keep going, to keep living in this situation. And then it is a self-punishment of no pleasures and then isolation. It is your ego going totally against you. I don't want to play this game anymore. And then if you remember all the signs and symptoms, if you place this ego behind it, you see that very clearly. It's like the, how do you say? It's like the spoiled boy playing soccer. When he grabs the ball, I'm going home now. I don't want to play anymore because I'm not getting the upper hand here. So that's what we do when we are depressed. We just don't want to play the game anymore because the game is not going the way we expected. So this is the bottom line, right? So there is a big chain that we have to work our way through until we get to smile on your face, if you get my meaning. So it is not something of a free will. A lot has to be dealt with in a chain for us to achieve that. Sorry, I'm just going to check if I didn't forget anything important. There's a lot of self-forgiveness that we have to do that. And the person who is depressed doesn't allow this self-forgiveness because it is expecting to excel in everything. When the ego doesn't excel in everything, doesn't like it, he grabs the ball and he wants to go home and he doesn't want to play anymore. So the self-forgiveness and the understanding that the past is in the past and you've done what you could with the tools that you had at the moment, it makes it easier to deal with our emotions and feelings as well. So it is a long process, and this person that needs therapy, you will go through that process over the months to recover and to gain control again. I would like to finish just with a phrase from Joana de Angelis, where she says that depression happens when there is a conflict in the spirit between frustrations of things that were not accomplished, so goals that were not achieved, in which aggressive impulses inside ourselves, they just rebel. And the ego structure is hurt, which in its turn joins in with this rebellion, silencing any other need and ignoring the reality. Silencing any other need, anything else around you doesn't matter because it is angry and it's aggressive and it's rebelling. So it isolates. I don't want to do this anymore. So silencing any other needs and ignores the reality around it. When you think of the ego having such a control, and if you imagine how much energy a person has to give for this ego to be rummaging and dwelling in those situations and these feelings all day long, you can understand why the person who is depressed doesn't have energy to get up from bed, or sometimes this person just have energy to go to work, come back home, drink and shower. And sometimes not even that. When I say drink, drink and eat, and sometimes not even that. So this behavior of the ego steals a lot of energy. There's no energy left. Medication and therapy helps that. So from this study, what I see is that we need to work together as a spirit, mind, and body to complement each other for the energy, for the mind, and for the spirit to all be healthy back together. And there's a big role that we can play here in the Spiritist Center in all the studies that we do, but there is a big psychological factor involved. And don't take it for granted. If you ever have been in touch with someone with depression, and if you think you might be at risk in becoming depressed, if you pick up those signs and symptoms, look for help. Look for help. go and do a bit of therapy and talk to someone and just be assured and look for support to be treated. Because when you are down this road, you feel so ashamed that you're going through this that you don't want to reach out. So just remember, if you're watching, if you're listening, this is for yourself, what we've been through in first instance. So keep an eye on your feelings. And if you think you are going down that spiral, if you need help, look for help. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone would like to make any comments? No, Alex? No? Okay. So, you're welcome. Thank you. So I'll just make a prayer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you all at Zoom for watching, and we are going to go continue through our activities here. Thank you for watching this presentation. Have a good night.